welcome to yet another episode of India Election Watch, the only show where we bring you unbiased election coverage, the story as it is, analysis as it is, no spins, no twists and turns. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. Let's bring you up to speed with what happened today. The election fever is at its peak. 9 days left for the first vote. Intense campaigning is on in the state scheduled to vote on the 11th of April. That's the first phase. Let's bring our rally roster up for you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi travelled to 3 states today: Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. A total of 90 seats up for grabs in these 3 states together. BJP President Amit Shah was in Odisha. There's a special emphasis on this state. In eastern India, it is voting simultaneously for the central and state governments. 21 MPs will be elected from Odisha. Congress President Rahul Gandhi campaigned in 3 locations across Telangana, a new state with 17 Lok Sabha seats. Let's begin with Narendra Modi. He showed his characteristic aggression, did not pull any punches. The Prime Minister hit out at the Congress party for coining the term Hindu terror. This was in Maharashtra. The BJP is contesting in the state in alliance with the Shiv Sena.
आप मुझे बताइए, जब आपने हिंदू आतंकवाद शब्द सुना, आपको गहरी चोट पहुंची थी कि नहीं पहुंची थी? हजारों साल का इतिहास, हिंदू कभी आतंकवाद करे ऐसी एक भी घटना है क्या? एक भी घटना है क्या? अरे अंग्रेज जैसे इतिहासकारों ने भी कभी हिंदू हिंसक हो सकता है, इस बात का जिक्र तक नहीं किया है.
Next came a polarizing charge. The Prime Minister said the Congress is scared of fielding candidates where the Hindus are in majority. The target was Rahul Gandhi. The Congress president will contest from Kerala's Wayanad. It's his second ticket rather. It's a Muslim majority constituency. Listen to what the Prime Minister had to say.
आतंकवाद हिंदू के साथ जोड़ दिया. इसके कारण अब उनकी हिम्मत नहीं पड़ रही है कि जहां पर मेजॉरिटी के लोग रहते हैं वहां चुनाव लड़ने की हिम्मत नहीं है. ये आतंकवादी हिंदू की सजा उनको मिल चुकी है और इसलिए भाग करके जहां मेजॉरिटी माइनॉरिटी में है वहां शरण लेने के लिए मजबूर हो गए.
The basis of this argument is the verdict in the Samjhauta Express blast case. Last month, a special court had acquitted all 4 accused in the case, including Swami Asimanand. He was the prime accused. Since the verdict, top BJP leaders have accused the Congress of vilifying the Hindu community. Over the weekend, Amit Shah demanded an apology from the Congress and from Rahul Gandhi. He said the Congress has committed a sin by linking the Hindu religion with terrorism. So how did Rahul Gandhi respond? Well, he hasn't bothered to. He was in Telangana today. He said that a vote for the TRS here will mean a vote for the BJP.
आपके सामने एक बहुत बड़ा निर्णय है. सवाल TRS और कांग्रेस का नहीं. राफेल का मामला कांग्रेस पार्टी ने उठाया. चौकीदार चोर है, कांग्रेस पार्टी ने बोला. रात को अगर नरेंद्र मोदी सोता नहीं है तो कांग्रेस के कारण नहीं सोता है. अगर नरेंद्र मोदी के चेहरे पर डर है तो कांग्रेस के डर है.
Rahul Gandhi is sticking to his pitch. He says that only the Congress can fight the BJP. He blamed the BJP for stealing jobs from the youth. He again sold his grand plan for a universal basic income.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने 15 लाख कहा, झूठ था. हम आपको सच बता रहे हैं. 3,60,000 रुपए 5 साल के अंदर हिंदुस्तान के 20% सबसे गरीब परिवारों के बैंक अकाउंट में डाल देंगे. नरेंद्र मोदी ने आपसे पैसा छीना और अनिल अंबानी को दिया. मैं अनिल अंबानी से पैसा छीन कर आपको दूंगा.
Ahead of the first leg of polling, the Congress is fighting an uphill battle. It is up against the BJP's massive election machinery. Outmatched, the grand old party hopes that fielding Rahul Gandhi from Kerala will galvanize their cadre in the south. The BJP has been trying to make inroads there, not much luck so far. They've expanded their presence only in Karnataka for now. Meanwhile, the NDA has decided to field BDJS President Tushar Velapalli opposite Congress President Rahul Gandhi from Wayanad in Kerala. BJP President Amit Shah made this announcement on Twitter. He said, and I'm quoting, "I proudly announce Shri Tushar Velapalli, President of the Bharat Dharm Jan Sena, BDJS, as NDA candidate from Wayanad. This comes a day after the Congress confirmed that Rahul Gandhi will contest from 2 seats. Now, the BJP says this betrays his nervousness. It shows that he's not sure that he will win from Amethi in Uttar Pradesh. This is what Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said in an exclusive interview with our editor-in-chief, Sudhir Chaudhary.
राहुल गांधी एक ऐसे नेता हैं जिन्होंने रफाल पर भी सवाल उठाए, बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक पर भी सवाल उठाए। आप साउथ इंडियन से आती हैं और अब वो साउथ इंडिया में चुनाव लड़ने जा रहे हैं। इस चुनाव में डू यू थिंक राहुल गांधी आपका सबसे बड़ा प्रतिद्वंदी है, सबसे बड़ा कॉम्पिटिटर है? कांग्रेस से सबसे ज्यादा आपको टक्कर मिलेगी या किसी और नेता से आप समझते हैं?
नहीं, वो पहली बात यह है कि 2 कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में से कंटेस्ट करना कानूनन रॉन्ग नहीं है, ठीक है, कर सकते हैं। मगर एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी जहां 3 टर्म से शायद वो अमेठी में एमपी है
जी,
अमेठी के अलावा सिंबॉलिक मान जाइए कि सिंबॉलिक ही कर रहे हैं, सिंबॉलिक भी दूसरे क्षेत्र अब क्यों ढूंढना है? इससे पहले आप 3 चुनाव लड़े, तब आपको सेकंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी का आवश्यकता नहीं पड़ी। अभी क्यों लग रहा है कि साउथ इंडिया से भी रिप्रेजेंटेशन चाहिए? इसलिए कि आप जीतने के बाद भी 3 टर्म्स में अमेठी का कुछ भी ध्यान नहीं रखा। और पार्लियामेंट्री रिकॉर्ड्स बोलते हैं अमेठी के ऊपर एक भी लोकसभा में प्रश्न नहीं पूछे, उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी का मेंटेन नहीं किए। और उसका विपरीत देखिए, हारने के बावजूद भी स्मृति ईरानी जी उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी को मेंटेन करके आ रही है, उसको सर्विस करते आ रहे हैं। और इतने बैकवर्ड है अमेठी, उसका जवाब देने का भी कष्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं राहुल गांधी जी। इसीलिए उनको मन में लगता है कि सेफ्टी के लिए दूसरे जगह भी ढूंढ ले और खोद करके फाइनली जहां कम्युनिस्ट के राज है, और वो वहां के कम्युनिस्ट ऑलरेडी बोल रहे हैं सॉरी, इनको डिफीट करना ही हमारे प्रथम कर्तव्य है, ऐसे एक क्षेत्र में जाकर के कंटेस्ट कर रहे हैं। और उसमें वोटिंग परसेंटेज के अनुसार भी देख रहे हैं और पॉपुलेशन, वोटर्स के पॉपुलेशन का प्रोफाइल करते हुए भी बहुत सारे लोग कमेंट भी कर रहे हैं
जी। 50% से ज्यादा वहां माइनॉरिटी पॉपुलेशन है।
इसीलिए लगता है कि अमेठी में कुछ ऐसे वैसे परिणाम हो जाएगा तो क्या कांग्रेस के प्रेसिडेंट पार्लियामेंट में भी नहीं रहेंगे? ऐसे हालात नहीं होना चाहिए, इसलिए भाग दौड़ कर गए कहीं और।
On Know Your Candidate or KYC, today the spotlight is on Shashi Tharoor, writer, diplomat, former UN official and controversy's favorite child. Tharoor is a Congress leader. He's the incumbent MP from the constituency of Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. Let's look at his record in Parliament. He's 63 years old. He's represented Thiruvananthapuram in Parliament since the year 2009, and this is his 3rd election from this constituency. In May 2014, Shashi Tharoor was re-elected from the seat. He defeated O. Rajagopal of the Bharatiya Janata Party by a margin of around 15,700 votes. His total attendance in the 16th Lok Sabha is 86%. That's 6% above the national average of 80. He participated in 90 debates. That's again above the national average. He has asked 481 questions. The average is 293. He pushed 16 private member bills, again well above the national average of 2.3. Shashi Tharoor was born in London. He completed his PhD in international relations at the age of 22 from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University in the United States. He started as a staff member at the UN High Commissioner for Refugees in Geneva. He went on to be nominated for the post of UN Secretary General in 2006. He's a prolific writer, also a magnet for controversy. He's accused and is under investigation in a case related to the mysterious death of his wife Sunanda Pushkar. Shashi Tharoor has served as Minister of State for External Affairs and Human Resource Development in the past. He had to step down in 2010 after he was accused of misusing his position to lobby for an IPL franchise in Kochi. He was also the first Indian MP to issue an annual report to his constituents on the work he has done in Thiruvananthapuram. He's aiming for a hat-trick from that seat. His key challenges remain anti-incumbency and a BJP heavyweight opponent, Kummanam Rajashekharan. There's never a dull day in Indian politics. Ad film stars running for office and social media to that mix, and it's a positive gold mine. Ask Hema Malini. Yesterday's dream girl had a modern-day nightmare on Twitter. But to be fair, she should have seen it coming. The actress-turned-politician tweeted a few photos of her first day of campaigning, getting her hands dirty in a wheat field. But wearing a pristine, creamy white sari, pearls in her neck, she looked appropriately awkward holding a sickle in her hand, especially since she had the women really doing the work standing right next to her. Twitter had a field day, if you know what I mean. From amused users marveling at election time stunts to annoyed citizens asking why politicians think photo ops can bail them out when polling comes around. Hema Malini faced the full brunt of Twitter power. Oh, and as expected, there were many references to Dhanno and Basanti being found in a field after many years. Meanwhile, some users took the opportunity to take a jab at election stunts by other politicians, including the BJP's Sambit Patra, a prostrating politician in Jharkhand, temple hopping by the Gandhis, and then back to Hema Malini. Congress President Rahul Gandhi will contest from 2 seats for the Lok Sabha this time, Amethi in Uttar Pradesh and Wayanad in Kerala. PP Sunair of CPI and Tushar Velapalli of the BDJS will contest against him in Wayanad. The decision is odd. Rahul Gandhi will be fighting the left democratic frontier, the same left which Rahul Gandhi's Congress has supported in many protests, the same left which wants to convert the election into a BJP versus the rest contest. As expected, this announcement drew sharp political reactions.
That is up to them to decide. I don't know whether they made the thing. But I'm saying, but this time, to put the pressure on them, the people who are contesting multiple seats, no? So that doesn't happen. So that doesn't matter. So the point is that we think this time also there will be a very good result for the LDF from Kerala.
अब ये उनके ऊपर है कहाँ से खड़े होना चाहते हैं, कहाँ से नहीं खड़े होना चाहते हैं।
क्या डर गए हैं अमेठी से वो?
मैं उनके मन में तो नहीं डर गए कि नहीं डर गए, इतना मुझे मालूम है कि हम लोग दोनों जगह जीतेंगे, खत्म हो गई बात।
राहुल गांधी जी 2 जगह से चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, एक अमेठी से लड़ रहे और केरल के वायनाड से लड़ रहे हैं। ये कोई नई बात नहीं है। पहली बार तो श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी जी ने चिकमगलुरु से चुनाव लड़ा था और उसके बाद सोनिया गांधी जी ने बेल्लारी से चुनाव लड़ा। तो ये नई कोई बात नहीं है और दोनों जगह से वो लोग जीती थी। हमें भरोसा है कि राहुल गांधी जी भी अमेठी से भारी मतों में जीतेंगे और वायनाड से भी भारी मतों में जीतेंगे।
First of all, why Wayanad? Is it a safe seat? Yes and no. Wayanad lies in northern Kerala. It shares a border with Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It's a new constituency carved out of delimitation only in 2009, and Congress has won from the seat both the Lok Sabha polls since, both in 2009 and 2014. Now they're hoping for a hat-trick from Wayanad, but it won't be easy because in 2009, Congress leader M.I. Shahnawaz, in fact, won by a huge margin, more than 1.5 lakh votes. In 2014, the victory margin fell to 20,000. Rahul Gandhi did not contest any of these elections. Besides, the neighbouring districts, Kasargod and Kannur, are pockets with strong left influence. The BJP is not strong in this seat. The challenge is mainly from the left. So why is he doing it? Why is Rahul Gandhi doing it? It could be read as a safety net, a backup, because Amethi will not be a cakewalk this time. Rahul Gandhi has won from Amethi since 2004, but the margin of victory came down to in 2014 because Smriti Irani challenged him hard. She's a known face in Amethi now. She brought down Rahul Gandhi's vote share to 46% already. It's a tight race. So what will Rahul Gandhi's safety net cost you, the voter? Up to 8 crore rupees. Let me explain how. If Rahul Gandhi wins from both the seats, he will have to give one of them up. And that will lead to a by-poll. And a by-poll means more expense to contest a fresh election. According to the Election Commission of India, holding a contest in one Lok Sabha seat can cost nearly 7 crore rupees. That was the cost in 2014. Add inflation and the cost goes up for this election. Basically, contesting from 2 seats amounts to spread betting. And Rahul Gandhi is not the only culprit here. Many high-profile leaders have contested from more than 1 seat in the past. In the 1957 election, a 34-year-old Atal Bihari Vajpayee contested from 3 tickets in Uttar Pradesh. He contested from Balrampur, Mathura and Lucknow. He won Balrampur, he was the runner-up in Lucknow and he lost his deposit in Mathura. In 1977, Indira Gandhi lost from Rai Bareli. That was after the emergency. 1 year later, she contested and won a by-poll from Chikmagalur in Karnataka. In 1980, she did not take any chances. She contested 2 seats, Medak in Andhra Pradesh and Rai Bareli in Uttar Pradesh. She was trying to show that she had the support of both North and South India. In 1991, Vajpayee and Advani both contested from 2 seats each. Vajpayee from Vidisha and Lucknow, Advani from New Delhi and Gandhinagar. Sonia Gandhi contested from Ballari and Amethi in 1999. She won both of them. She defeated Sushma Swaraj in Ballari. In 2009, Lalu Prasad Yadav contested from 2 seats, Saran and Patliputra. He won one, he lost the other. Mulayam Singh Yadav did the same in 2014, Mainpuri and Azamgarh. Prime Minister Modi himself memorably contested from Vadodara and Varanasi in the last Lok Sabha election of 2014. It's not only national leaders, in fact, regional players like N.T. Ramarao, Devi Lal, J. Jayalalitha, they'd all made a habit of contesting from multiple seats. So how do they do it? Why are they allowed to waste public money for symbolism and safety? What does the rule book say? Before 1996, candidates were allowed to run even 3 seats. But then an amendment was made. Now the limit is 2 seats per candidate. Last year, the Election Commission pushed for a 1 candidate, 1 seat rule, but the centre refused. Coming back to Wayanad, why is Rahul Gandhi contesting from there? Is it a token measure to prove his affinity to South India? Is it a measure to prove his credentials as a pan-Indian leader? Or is it just a safety net? Whichever way you look at it, it's about Rahul Gandhi and not the people of these constituencies. By the way, Wayanad is a Muslim-majority constituency, so while Rahul Gandhi goes temple-hopping in Uttar Pradesh, he will appease the sizable Muslim vote bank in Kerala. The Indian Union Muslim League is set to back Rahul Gandhi against the left in Wayanad. Perhaps it's all correct in politics. Soft Hindutva in the north, minority appeasement in the south, secularism when put under the microscope, but electoral success is always the motive. It has been 67 years since India held its first election, and the story of the Lok Sabha is also the story of India's elders. We often say that life begins at 60 for a politician in this country. Has it always been the case? Did you know about the average age of MPs in India over the years? But first, why does this even matter? Why does age matter? Because India is a young country. 50% of India's population is below 25 years of age, 65% below 35. In 2020, the average age of an Indian will be 29 years, much lesser than China's 37. So we expect young voters to be represented in parliament, but that's not the case. In the first Lok Sabha, the average age of a lawmaker was a little more than 46 years. That number has shot up consistently. In the second Lok Sabha, that was formed after the 1957 election, the average age had increased to 46.7 years. It crossed 50 for the first time in the 6th Lok Sabha. That was right after the emergency. And since then, there have been only 2 instances when the average age of India's Lok Sabha was below 50. That was in 1979 and then again in 1998 under Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The 15th Lok Sabha, headed by the UPA, was the oldest. The average age of an MP in the 2009 Lok Sabha was nearly 58 years. The current Lok Sabha is the second worst. 56 years is the average. Let's bring you some more numbers. 44% of the Lok Sabha members right now are aged between 56 and 70. 10% of MPs are from the age group of 25 to 40 and 10% are above 71 years. The lower house basically is a senior citizens club. Let's break it down further for you. 1/4 of India's population is between 25 to 40 years of age. Their representation is only 10%. 10% for 25% of India's population. Just 8% of India's population is between 56 and 70 years, and their representation is 50%. this parliament is not for the young. And I'm not an ageist, but performance shows. The younger lawmakers clock better attendance. They ask more questions, they take part in more debates, they introduce more private member bills. The records show this. The older ones, not so much. We understand that in a country like India, to win elections, you need to be a known face. You need to be known over a period of time. And youngsters are not taking up politics like they stir up political debates on social media. But that needs to change. In a changing world full of technological disruptions and changing views on a host of issues like LGBTQ rights, like adultery law, marital rape and data privacy laws, shouldn't young India be the majority voice in parliament? The answer is yes. But the reality will be different. The next Lok Sabha may not be much better. Look at the candidates each side has fielded and you'll know the answer. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Election Watch. Keep your feedback coming in. Tweet us with the hashtag India Election Watch. And thanks very much for watching.